Hello, welcome back to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. For this upload, we will be reading Numbers chapter 31. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Avenge the children of Israel of the Midianites. Afterward shalt thou be gathered unto thy people. And Moses spake unto the people, saying, Arm some of yourselves unto the war, and let them go against the Midianites, and avenge the Lord of Midian. Of every tribe 1,000 throughout all the tribes of Israel shall ye send to the war. So there were delivered out of the thousands of Israel 1,000 of every tribe, 12,000 armed for war. And Moses sent them to the war, 1,000 of every tribe, them and Phineas, the son of Eleazar the priest, to the war, with the holy instruments and the trumpets to blow in his hand. And they warred against the Midianites, as the Lord commanded Moses, and they slew all the males. And they slew the kings of Midian, beside the rest of them that were slain, namely Evi and Rekem, and Zur, and Hur, and Reba, 5 kings of Midian. Balaam, also the son of Beor, they slew with the sword. And the children of Israel took all the women of Midian captives, and their little ones, and took the spoil of all their cattle, and all their flocks, and all their goods. And they burnt all their cities wherein they dwelt, and all their goodly castles with fire. And they took all the spoil and all the prey, both of men and of beasts. And they brought the captives and the prey and the spoil unto Moses and Eleazar the priest, and unto the congregation of the children of Israel, unto the camp at the plains of Moab, which are by Jordan near Jericho. And Moses and Eleazar the priest, and all the princes of the congregation, went forth to meet them without the camp. And Moses was wroth with the officers of the host, with the captains over thousands, and captains over hundreds, which came from battle. And Moses said unto them, Have ye saved all the women alive? Behold, these caused the children of Israel, through the counsel of Balaam, to commit trespass against the Lord in the matter of Peor. And there was a plague among the congregation of the Lord. Now therefore, kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that hath known man by lying with him. But all the women children that have not known a man by lying with him, keep alive for yourselves. And do ye abide without the camp 7 days. Whosoever hath killed any person, and whosoever hath touched any slain, purify both yourselves and your captives on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day, and purify all your raiment, and all that is made of skins, and all of goat's hair, and all things made of wood. And Eleazar the priest said unto the men of war, which went to the battle, This is the ordinance of the law, which the Lord commanded Moses. Only the gold and the silver, the brass, the iron, the tin, and the lead, everything that may abide the fire, ye shall make it go through the fire, and it shall be clean. Nevertheless, it shall be purified with the water of separation, and all that abideth not the fire ye shall make go through the water. And ye shall wash your clothes on the 7th day, and ye shall be clean, and afterward ye shall come into the camp. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Take the sum of the prey that was taken, both of man and of beast, thou and Eleazar the priest, and the chief fathers of the congregation, and divide the prey into 2 parts, between them that took the war upon them who went out to battle, and between all the congregation, and levy a tribute unto the Lord of the men of war which went out to battle, 1 soul of 500, both of the persons, and of the beeves, and of the asses, and of the sheep. Take it of their half, and give it unto Eleazar the priest for an heave offering of the Lord. And of the children of Israel's half thou shalt take 1 portion of 50 of the persons, of the beeves, of the asses, and of the flocks, of all manner of beasts, and give them unto the Levites, which keep the charge of the tabernacle of the Lord. And Moses and Eleazar the priest did as the Lord commanded Moses. And the booty, being the rest of the prey which the men of war have caught, was 600,000 and 70,000 and 5,000 sheep, and 12,000 beeves, and 61,000 asses, and 30 and 2,000 persons in all of women had that had not known man by lying with him. And the half, which was the portion of them that went out to war, was in number 300,000 and 7 and 30,000 and 500 sheep. And the Lord's tribute of the sheep was 600 and 60 and the beeves were 30 and 6,000, of which the Lord's tribute was 60 and 12. And the asses were 30,500, of which the Lord's tribute was 60 and 1. And the persons were 16,000, of which the Lord's tribute was 30 and 2 persons. And Moses gave the tribute, which was the Lord's heave offering, unto Eleazar the priest, as the Lord commanded Moses, and of the children of Israel's half, which Moses divided from the men that warred. Now the half that pertained unto the congregation was 300,000 and 30,000 and 7,500 sheep, and 30 and 6,000 beeves, and 30,000 asses, and 516,000 persons. Even of the children of Israel's half, Moses took one portion of 50, both of man and of beast, and gave them unto the Levites, which kept the charge of the tabernacle of the Lord, as the Lord commanded Moses. And the officers which were over thousands of the host, the captains of thousands and captains of hundreds, came near unto Moses. And they said unto Moses, Thy servants have taken the sum of the men of war, which are under our charge, and there lacketh not one man of us. We have therefore brought an oblation for the Lord, what every man hath gotten of jewels, of gold, chains and bracelets, rings, earrings, and tablets, to make an atonement for our souls before the Lord. And Moses and Eleazar the priest took the gold of them, even all wrought jewels, and all the gold of the offering that they offered up to the Lord, of the captains of thousands and of the captains of hundreds, was 16,750 shekels, for the man of war had taken spoil, every man for himself. And Moses and Eleazar the priest took the gold of the captains of thousands and of hundreds, and brought it into the tabernacle of the congregation for a memorial of the children of Israel before the Lord. Summarizing Numbers chapter 31, God instructs Israel through Moses to go to war with the Midianites. How we get here, quick recap. God delivers the Israelites out of Egypt. The Israelites were once again a previously enslaved group of people. They were enslaved in Egypt for over 400 years. Once God delivered them out, He brought them out to the wilderness, had them create an identity for themselves, create camaraderie, and build a tabernacle. So sort of like team building activities, building community. Then in Numbers chapter 13, it gave them laws. That's another thing. Gave them laws, gave them ordinances, gave them ceremonies to upkeep, and then brought them to a land so that they could establish a kingdom in Numbers chapter 13. Well, they did not have the right attitude, and so God says, well, once this generation dies off, we will try again. So because they don't have a territory, now these people who are over 600,000, there's over 600,000 people, they are wandering in the wilderness. This is a time before there's running water. So that is very important in the wilderness. Finding wells is something that has to be done skillfully, and especially for that many people. So you can see how that can cause some problems. Also, this is the time period where you have to check in. You cannot just walk on anybody's territory. It's kind of like it is now. You can't just go to someone else's territory without letting them know you're there, getting some sort of documentation. But back then they didn't have that. So they're attracting a lot more attention. They're having to go through a lot more rigmarole because they don't have their own economic system, their own territory. In chapter 21, they end up defeating 2 kingdoms and then settling really close to a third one. Well, the king of this third kingdom, called Moab, King Balak, was the ruler. He was so concerned about the Israelites being so close to them that he enlisted the help of another king, King Balaam, and wanted him to curse Israel to drive them away from their territory. Long story short, it didn't work. They didn't curse Israel. So what ended up happening in chapter 25, Israel became deceived by the same group of people that the ruler was just concerned about Israel. So now these same group of people have deceived them away from God. So at the end of chapter 25, God tells them to vex the Midianites because they have deceived you. And that was in verses 17 and 18 of chapter 25. So, chapter 26, God requires them to take a census because in verse 65, we find out that this current generation in Numbers chapter 26 is the next generation surviving the one in Numbers chapter 1. We remember in Numbers chapter 13, God tells Israel that you're going to die out and the next generation will take the promised land because you didn't have the right attitude. Well, in chapter 26, we're now at that point where it's the new generation. Chapter 27, we have the 5 women inquiring about the inheritance of their father. They have no male heir, and they were granted that his inheritance instead of being told to marry someone or have a child with someone for financial gain. God gave that financial gain to those women directly. So that was in chapter 27. Then we have chapter 28 and 29, where God is reminding the Israelites of what ordinances to keep, because again, they're getting ready to go to war. They're getting ready to take over this next people, and usually what's customary of war, they take over, they take the women, and they usually take, maybe some servants. But in order to keep them from intermingling again, because they don't have a strong identity yet, again, they were enslaved for 400 years, more than that. So this has only been one generation. They are not stable enough to intermingle with anyone without losing their identity because they don't even have an identity yet. So that's why it's that important for them to close themselves off from anyone else coming in. I hope we make that clear. Okay, so in chapter 30, that's why those vows are given for the women, because they're getting ready to go to war. So they're going to take over these women to make sure that they can manage these women, because you have to question the loyalty of someone that you've killed their family and burned their entire everything they've ever known away from them, and then taking them to marry and procreate with, because that might not be the most ideal situation for loyalty from a woman. That's why chapter 30 exists, to help manage these women that they're about to get. So now we're in chapter 31. They've gone to war, or they're going to war with the Israelites. This chapter even starts out brutal, because in verse 2, God says, avenge the people of Israel. Afterwards, you're going to be gathered to your people. So God is saying, after you do this, you're going to die. You're going to be, you're going to be with your people. Brutal. So verse 4, God commands Moses, send 1,000 from each tribe to war, 12,000 in total. In verse 6, Phineas, the man who shish kebabbed 2 people in front of an audience at the tabernacle in chapter 25, the guy who stabbed 2 people with javelin, he was so good at that stabbing, they sent him to war with the holy instrument and trumpet. Israel slew all the males and all the kings. And the other interesting thing that I thought about when I saw this, they also killed Balaam. So Balaam was the loyal king in chapter 22. He was the one who was inconvenienced by God with his donkey. He obeyed God, and Israel killed him. The other tripped out thing was he's not even mentioned as a king. We look at here, they killed the kings of Midian with the rest of their slain, and they named the 5 kings, Evi, Rakim, Zur, the 5 kings of Midian. In the next sentence, oh yeah, they also killed Balaam. I was just like, wow, because the reason why Balak contacted him is because his curses and blessings were notable. And it was because he honored God, and he was still put to death by the Israelites. It's because we, like Christians, it's like we believe everything's supposed to be just great for us. Even though we saw Jesus get crucified and beaten beyond recognition, you think it's going to just be easy for you just because you're doing the right thing. Like, it just made me remember that when I saw that. So, okay, so then they slew all the males, killed all the kings. Israel took their women and children, the property, the cattle, the flock, then burned down the city, brought everything else back to Moses and Eleazar and the Israelite princes. And then in verse 15, Moses was mad because he was like, are these the same women? These are the same women who caused you to sin. And you brought them here? It just kind of made me think of, too, sometimes you'll get on this internet and you'll get on YouTube and you'll see all these men talking about all these women, using the platform that they built to give even more attention to the women that they don't want to look at. Then save them. But, verse 17, okay, so Moses said, kill all of them except for the virgin women who have not known man, even kill the small boy children. So even though we understand that Moses is being led by God, we just see here that God didn't say to Moses and then Moses said to him. Maybe that's just maybe he gets to decide on some things, or maybe there's more information that we don't know about. But we look here, God did not say specifically kill them. Moses made that call. So then we have verse 19. He's reminding these men who have just gone to war of the purity ritual that was given to Israel in Numbers chapter 19. When you're near a dead body, you have to do this ritual where you cleanse your clothes and your body. You can't come to camp with everyone else for a few days. Verse 20, purify all your clothes. Eleazar says to purify everything that can go through the fire, and everything else through water if it can't go in the fire. You have to wash your clothes. And then in verse 24, on the seventh day, these men can come back to camp. Verse 26, God tells Moses to divide what was left or acquired. And it's supposed to be divided amongst Israel, the ones who went to war, and the Levite heave offering population. So all the numbers are given from verse 32 through verse 47. And even with that, I'm not quite sure this verse 37. From the people of Israel's half, Moses took one of every 50 and gave them to the Levites. So that's something I would need to read into a little bit more. Verse 49, the officers confirmed that no male Israelite was missing. So none of the men died of war. None of the Israelites. Verse 52, the heave offering to the Lord was 16,750 shekels, even though in the margin of my Bible it says something different. It was like a lot more money. Verse 52, or the beginning of verse 53, the heave offering says $32,160,000, which maybe, but they had millions of dollars back then. I mean, I'm sure they did. I don't know. When I saw it, I was like, wow, that's kind of a lot. But then you think Israel, there's like 600,000 at least. So, yeah. Okay. So, verse 53, all men took the spoils, the rest went into the tabernacle. So, just a couple of things that I just wanted to point out again. The virgin women were treated as prizes of war. And so, this is also helping to solidify chapter 30 and why it makes sense to specify the vow of the woman and how important it is, because now we understand this is all building on each other. Israel was they had no identity because they were slaves. They had no territory, no economic uh, participation because they were slaves. So God had to get them out of that situation. He asked Egypt first. Egypt said no. So then God had to convince Egypt to let them go. So this is Numbers chapter 31, and the next upload will be chapter 32. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Like, comment, and subscribe.